What do you want? What do you want? You want the iPad? iPad went bye-bye.
What do you want? Wait, I can't hear you. What do you want?
What's wrong? What do you want?
Sorry, baby, iPad went bye-bye.
Oh, iPad tantrum. Oh, no.
A recent study found that children less than 1 year old who are subject to routine screen time are 105% more likely to develop high sensory behaviors, akin to conditions such as ADHD or ADD. As a child grows, this risk may decrease, but not significantly. Until the age of 7, every hour of screen time increases attention deficit by at least 9%. The United Nations Children's Fund has even affirmed that screen time inhibits young children's ability to fully develop empathy. You know, that thing we should all have. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children under 18 months should have absolutely no screen time. Between the ages of 2 to 5, they should gradually be introduced to high-quality educational television programs, such as Sesame Street or Super Y, but for no more than 1 hour a day. Keeping that in mind, another study found that nearly half of all children under the age of 8 have their own tablet. That's not having access to a tablet. That falls somewhere over 80%, according to a study from 2017. No, they have their own designated tablet. But even with all the studies, all the statistics, and all the research behind this new form of raising a child, is it really warranted to give Gen Alpha some sort of specialty concern? I mean, really think about it. When books came, giving your kid a book is lazy parenting and destroying their childhood. When bikes came, giving your kid a bike is lazy parenting and destroying their childhood. The idea that childhoods are being ruined by the latest technology is not really new or true. Their childhood is just different than yours. Don't you agree? Well, I don't, because that wasn't my original thought. In fact, this is a harmful and, frankly, stupid way of thinking. The argument to be made here is not that technology is bad. It is that excessive use of technology is a harmful problem to a child's formative years. The same cannot be said about books or bikes. Sure, you can create some extreme hypotheticals, but at the end of the day, they are incomparable to the influence tablets and smartphones have had on the youngest generations. The term iPad baby has become a familiar title for a child whose parents dump a tablet on them to keep their attention occupied. It's typical to see them out in public at stores or in restaurants, but this is a common occurrence in many homes around the country as well. And matter of fact, it's much worse than allowing your child to simply watch TV instead.
A new study finds preschool-age children logging 75 minutes or more of daily screen time displayed more anger and frustration as they got older and had trouble regulating emotions, which often resulted in parents giving them even more screen time by age 5.
As previously mentioned, the television provides some beneficial learning programs, some notable ones being Little Einsteins, Daniel Tiger, or just about anything on PBS. These shows teach a variety of subjects imperative to a developing mind. Take, for example, Bluey, the most watched children's show within the last 5 years, and in some cases, the most watched show in general. Leading the Nielsen charts on multiple occasions with
43.9
billion minutes viewed. Bluey has become a hit amongst children as well as their parents, who see the valuable lessons taught in each episode.
And I was completely in love from the first frame. That kind of thing reaches into you, and you can cry, you can laugh, you can dance. That's the attraction in it, isn't it? So different.
It provides young viewers with examples on being kind and considerate, but also it illustrates how to be a patient and loving parent for those that watch along. Licensed clinical social worker Jacqueline Wetzel recommends Bluey to any mother or father who may be having a difficult time parenting. As she states, parenting doesn't come with a handbook, but Bluey is helping those that maybe didn't have the best example of it growing up, and that's special. Now, the obvious, for lack of a better term, gateway to giving your child an iPad is with the intentions of keeping them satisfied and quiet, especially if they're causing a scene in a public environment. And if shows like Bluey can do that while also being educational, then why not just have them watch it on the iPad? That way they can take it with them wherever they go and always learn about being kind and considerate, right? Well, if we simply ignore the damaging effects blue light screens have on our eyes and mental well-being in comparison to the trivial impact of television screens, smartphones and tablets still possess many unfortunate drawbacks. The biggest one, funny enough, would be accessibility. Speaking from personal experience, there is often an undesired temptation to pull out a phone to occupy one's time whenever there's a dull moment. And that's coming from an adult. For children who do not yet have the appropriate social awareness, if they feel that temptation, what's to stop them from complaining and protesting until they get what they want? The parents, obviously wanting to keep their child satisfied and obedient, may happily oblige to a remedy for their tantrum. But soon enough, they fall into this trap of merely tossing a tablet at them whenever there's a problem at hand. This is a surefire way for the child to develop the aforementioned social issues and attention disorders. Similarly enough, excessive screen use has been linked to difficulties in controlling emotions and impulses. Again, from the United Nations Children's Fund, it states that boredom teaches children how to cope with frustration and to stay in charge of their impulses. If they're constantly stimulated by screens, they may be easily agitated when they are not constantly entertained. This adheres to the oh-so-tempting trap that many parents fall into. Giving them a screen may keep the child satisfied, but it's only causing long-term complications to a short-term problem.
This is what happens when mom and dad take away an iPad from 2-year-old Ashlyn Brooks.
Also, a little unrelated, but what is with the parent not only recording, but also posting this video online? Like, sure, this is a perfect example of the influence tablets have on kids and their behavior, which is what I'm trying to express, but I think this better shows the kind of parents who are raising their kids in this way. They are so oblivious to the internet and its hold on them, they're willing to ignore the psychological impact a video like this could have on their own child. Imagine growing up and people at school know you as that kid who cried over an iPad, all because your dad wanted to post it on YouTube. This is where the real instigators come into play, the millennial and Gen Z parents. Now keep in mind, this is not an umbrella description of all millennial and Gen Z parents, but it is palpable that the quote-unquote iPad babies are being raised by people in their 20s to 30s, making them millennials or Gen Zers. And it seems the people of this age range are the ones with the strongest opinions on the matter, whether for or against, as they come from a unique position. Many born in the mid-90s to early 2000s were able to experience childhood with and without pervasive technology, allowing them to have a sense of what an upbringing around tablets and smartphones is like. In the late 2000s, the iPhone and iPad took the world by storm. However, it was more of a high-end product to the majority of the public. Meaning, realistically, someone in 2007 below the age of 10 owning a smartphone was somewhat of an anomaly. A millennial or Gen Zer most likely got their first smart device between the ages of, say, 13 to 18. I asked a peer of mine, how did he feel about being raised in this time period? This is what he had to say.
I was born in 2000 and didn't have a smartphone until 2014, making me 14 years old when I got one. It felt so cool. Like, I could do anything from it, play games, text friends. I remember even watching the first Avengers on it for like hours on repeat. And honestly, looking back, I hate that I had one. I think I was way too young in retrospect. And I wish I had the chance to experience life a little longer without a smartphone, because all the important memories I can recall never took place on the phone. They're great and all, but nowadays it's basically impossible for a normal adult to function in the world without one.
In contrast, there are people of the same age group who hold the opposing view. The Sydney Morning Herald did a full article asking various individuals about their stance on giving children tablets. TikTok comedian Laz Booth said,
"Most parents are tired and stressed out of their minds. Going out for dinner seems like a good idea, but without screens, it can be a massive drama. As time goes on, you realize there's actually no way of stopping screens. They're going to end up on them anyway, and it really does make a difference to be able to go out and actually enjoy a meal and not have a toddler climbing over your head."
Dr. Lynn Craig, professor of sociology from the University of Melbourne, agrees by adding,
"It is very risky to take a child to a restaurant because they might disturb others. Their attention span is a lot lower. Often you're with other people. It's not just the family together, and the adults would like to talk."
In all fairness, with all the hard work and stress parents undergo, they are more than deserving of a night of relaxation. And if we're being truthful, kids may be a hurdle to get that kind of night. But on the other hand, kids aren't a new age phenomenon. It's not like people just didn't go to restaurants when tablets and phones didn't exist. I'm gonna sound like an old man yelling at a cloud, but I thought family dinners were supposed to be like a big thing in people's upbringing. Shouldn't this be the time and age when kids are taught things like table manners and how to socially interact? Yes, kids might disturb others, and yes, kids have a lower attention span. That's because they're supposed to learn and develop these skills through situations like meals at a restaurant. They're supposed to have the manners of a kid, since they are one.
Oh no!
Giving them a tablet for the whole meal may be keeping them quiet, but it's stunting their ability to mature. The thing a kid is supposed to eventually do. Have you ever watched The Middle? That's what family meals should be like. They aren't gonna be perfect in any way. There'll probably be bad table manners, weird comments, and people arguing, but none of that matters. The point of it is that it's a family together, whether they like it or not, growing their relationship as mother and father, brother and sister, and so on. But instead, people are saying they would rather have it like this. Blogger Laura Noel offers a unique perspective. As a mother who was once a strong advocate for tablets, she has now removed them from her style of parenting. She writes on how she knew screens weren't the best for young children, but it soon became a snowball she had lost control of.
As her energy went up and mine went down, I felt like I had to give in order to get alone time or things done. At first, it was magical. I got so much done. Hours of work were accomplished. I cooked dinner in peace. I could read a book. She sat quietly, watching her shows. But then things started to get dicey. Her attachment to the device was getting stronger. It was the first thing she asked for every morning. It was hard to take it away at night. She talked about the things she saw in it all the time. I started to feel uncomfortable, like something wasn't right.
Laura further explains on finding a solution to her problem once she read the book Reset Your Child's Brain by Dr. Dunkley. Also, that sounds like a science fiction sentence I just said. Which states that the best way to reverse the negative effects of electronic screens is by simply removing them. It goes into much more scientific detail, including mention of the effects on the frontal lobe and all that. So if you're interested, I will leave a link to the blog post in the description. Laura was the first to admit that while the process was far from easy, it is definitely worth it, even stating that she herself started to use screens less, which greatly improved their household environment, because it still holds true that children, out of anyone, will look up to their parents the most. So if they see mom or dad on their phone all the time, then it's fair to ask what's so bad about staring at a screen for hours on end. Which brings up another point. I feel extremely hypocritical making this video talking about the bad effects of screen time on adolescents when it also has a negative impact on adults. I mean, I've been looking at my computer editing for hours on this. So because of that,